By 1872, Fort Dodge, which was established in 1865, was not only a place for U.S. Army soldiers, but it was also a trading post and a meeting place for traders along the Santa Fe Trail and for the buffalo hunters. People bought supplies at the post store or sutler store. The store was also a popular spot for the drinking of alcoholic beverages. Apparently, the drinking got out of hand, and the commandant of Fort Dodge, Colonel Richard Dodge, allowed drinking only for the officers, which essentially stopped the sale of alcohol at the fort. This prompted a businessman, George Hoover, to take a wagon to Kansas City, fill it with a load of bought whiskey, and bring it to the minimum distance allowed from the fort, which was 5 miles. Supposedly, he tied a rag to a wagon wheel and figured out the distance by counting the number of rotations on the wheel multiplied by the diameter of the wheel. Here he built a sod store and bar. Other businesses followed, and the rest is history. He started the very first business in Dodge City when he opened a watering hole for the soldiers, buffalo hunters, and traders that had been denied the use of Fort Dodge's saloon. George M Hoover was a French-Canadian born on August 8, 1847. He first came to western Kansas, arriving in the town of Ellsworth in 1871. At the time, Fort Dodge sat on a much larger military reservation. The western border of the reservation was 5 miles from the fort itself. On June 17, 1872, he and business partner Jack McConnell set up a sod and wood plank bar just outside those 5 miles, south of the future site of the AT and SF railroad tracks. Soon other businesses followed, and Hoover was among the group of men that christened the fledgling town as Buffalo City, a name that was changed to Dodge City when they applied for a U.S. post office. There already was a Buffalo, Kansas. Hoover's sod bar eventually moved to the north side of the tracks and became a wholesale liquor outlet, which expanded into Texas and Indian Territory. Ironically, Hoover was one of the first Dodge City businessmen who honored Kansas Prohibition when it went into effect in 1881. Dodge Cityans chose Hoover as their first elected mayor in 1876, succeeding P.L. Beatty, who had been appointed. He was mayor 4 separate times and was elected twice to the state legislature. He also served as county commissioner several times. Hoover opened a private bank in 1892. In 1898, along with fellow businessmen, he established the State Bank of Dodge City, which is now Fidelity State Bank. He was president of the bank at the time of his death. George M. Hoover died on July 15, 1914, just shy of his 67th birthday. His wife, Margaret Carnahan, who he had married in 1876, had died a few months earlier in March. Hoover is buried in Maple Grove Cemetery alongside his wife. George Hoover left a legacy when his estate gave the city of Dodge City over $90,000. Money from this fund went to beautification of Dodge City's parks and cemeteries. In addition to these funds, he left $10,000 to build the Hoover Pavilion in Wright Park. His monies enabled the city to buy the municipal airport in the 1940s. George M. Hoover was an Episcopalian, but in his will he gave $1,000 each to the Catholic, Presbyterian, Methodist, Christian, Episcopal, and Baptist churches.